Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. Welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 538. Today is the 19th of March, 2025, and we are going to jump into answering your local SEO questions as soon as we say hello and take a minute for a couple of quick announcements. And we're going to let everybody hop on the live stream and make sure that everything's working all right. And if you're checking the replay, stay with us here for a couple minutes. We got a couple cool things coming up we wanted to talk about. And then again, make sure if you're not familiar or you haven't already subscribed to Semantic Mastery, subscribe to the channel, head over to semanticmastery.com, hop on the email list. We not only put out some regular great content based upon Hump Day Hangouts, but also some stuff you don't see anywhere else. So with that said, Chris, how you doing today?
Doing good, busy with work and hitting the gym. As everyone knows, like spring is here and summer is coming, so better get in shape.
Awesome. All right, Bradley, how about you? How you doing, man?
Busy as hell, but it's the weather's really nice here. It's 78 degrees right now. So
Yeah.
sunny, it's nice. Too bad I'm stuck in here working.
Well, yeah, at least you're not under blankets or something, right?
That's for sure. Yep.
Man. Well, Bradley, last week we were telling people about the local lead gen stuff, and now that we have a better name for what we're going to be releasing, and wanted to let people know about the hyperlocal lead system, just to give it a much better name for people who aren't familiar with it, and so it's a little bit more self-explanatory. But do you mind giving people the elevator pitch of the elevator pitch, just who this is for? And what all it's going to entail, because we're going to be dropping this out on people with some good bonuses coming up here in the next week or two.
Yeah, sure. So the local lead hero system or local lead gen hero system, whatever it is that we're calling it, it is essentially parts or components of the DHA program that we're extracting that are kind of packaged up to, some people don't want to go through the whole process and create a directory and all that stuff, which I think is kind of silly, but some people don't want to do that. So what this is more about the SEO side of things and how to identify low competition. Well, first pick an industry. Number two, identify low competition markets within that industry. So areas within that industry that you can target that are low competition. Because why do we as SEOs always go target the hard stuff, right? The stuff, I know why. That's a rhetorical question, but we look at search volume data, right? We go select the areas of the locations that have high search volume because we figure we can make more money from those when we get something ranked, or people are going to be willing to pay more to get something ranked in those areas. And that's true. But it also means you've significantly increased your workload and the stress levels that you're going to go through until you get them ranked. You're going to be under an enormous amount of stress because you're always in danger of losing that client until you get them ranked, right? And all of that. So I've learned over the years, why put myself through that? Why not just identify low competition areas? And there's ways that you can prove it's low competition by building your own organic lead gen assets and see how quickly they rank or how much effort it takes to get them to rank. And then right from the beginning exactly how much effort or resources or whatever it's going to take in order to achieve results in that specific location. And so what I'm teaching is how to identify low competition areas within a particular industry and then target those areas first with building lead generation assets. We have a very specific site template that's both available in high level and in WordPress. And there's full SOPs and all of that so that you can go out and build sites, local lead generation assets in those particular locations that you identified as low competition areas. In many cases, a lot of those sites will start to rank, maybe not fully, but partially, with no additional work needed. Or very little additional work needed. And now you've got something that you can use as a sales tool that can then generate revenue, right? Whether you monetize it directly by selling the site, renting it, selling leads from the site or whatever, or just pointing to it when promoting and marketing your own services, your traditional retainer-based marketing services to companies in that area by pointing to that as saying, look, I've already got results, at least for some of the products and services that you sell in some of the areas that you provide those services to. And so the whole point of this is to reduce workload by selecting one industry, getting to know that industry, and then building assets and selling to that industry. So where you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you don't got to try to do all the trial and error stuff that you typically do in every industry to try to figure out what works and what is compelling. You learn how to sell it better because you're always selling the service to one industry, to one business owner type. And so it just becomes a much more efficient way to build revenue and also to reduce your stress levels and your workload. And so the whole point of the LOG, or the local lead generation system, which we're calling the hyper local lead gen system or something, whatever it is that we're calling it, is just a way to kind of extract those components out of the whole DHA program and provide them to those people that really like to focus more on the SEO side of things, but still to simplify the business model and to find ways to monetize quicker. That's the whole point. Okay. How'd I do?
Outstanding. Yeah, and what is it? I had to go back to my notes, right? So we were just like, we need a better name for this, and then can't remember it. But yeah, hyper local lead system. So there we go.
That's it.
All right. Yeah, good to go, man. That was what I wanted to make sure we shared with people. Let's just jump into the questions unless you guys have something else.
No, I'm good. So I think
Cool.
we got a handful of questions, not as many as we've had recently. So might be able to get to some comments and some chats today. So anybody
Cool.
that's here attending, hey, chime in. Let us know you're here. And if you guys have any questions or comments that you want me to cover today, if you post them in the chat box, we should be able to get to some additional comments or questions today. All right. So I'm gonna grab the screen and we'll get right into it. And if my computer is acting funny, I've got an hour and a half long audit video that is rendering in the
Funny.
background. And so if my resources are a little bit strained, it's because I'm rendering a video. But anyway, let's grab the screen. I just finished an audit that took an hour and a half to record the video. An hour and 34 minutes of
Wow.
audit video. Unbelievable, but it was a very complicated audit. So there's a lot of problems I identified. All right, so whose is up first? I should have cleared that one last week, so let me hide that. All right, so when I search LOG root domain in Google, my site does not show up, but when I search for subdomains of that root domain on Google, those sites do show up. Is this something to worry about as the root domain doesn't have much content and we're not trying to rank it? No, it doesn't matter. I mean, you should have, what's up, Craig? I see Craig just popped in. The homepage should, if you have something, I don't know that you have anything published on it. I don't know, but if you do, then it should index. That's interesting though, because I hadn't even looked to see if mine was indexed. I'm quite sure it is because I've built links to it and everything else. But let's just go do that. Let's exercise it out. See. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not. Oh, you know what? I had a typo in it. Yeah, it's indexed. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's not all that important because the root domain, in my opinion, I mean, it is. I think it should be indexed for sure. But I just use it specifically as a directory so that if anybody goes to the Felling Per root domain, they see that there's something there and they can select which. And also, this becomes a link building target where you can push topical relevance to all of the locations. Do you understand? That's part of the reason why I do this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a root domain like page anyways. I would have just left it all on subdomains. But I think it makes sense for somebody that maybe they would just go to the root domain or whatever the brand is without a location mention or whatever. It's important to have a directory, right? That's what this is, a directory of locations, basically. It's a directory page of the locations. But then also this becomes a link building target for topical links because all of these are in the same industry. So if we build links to this with topical relevance, we can push topical relevance into all of the subdomain sites so that even a subdomain site that has no external links pointing directly to it will inherit topical link equity from the appropriate topical categories. Does that make sense? And so that's part of the reason why we do this is because it's a way it's a way to make link building more efficient and more cost effective because we build topical links mostly to this page, which then flows down to the subdomain sites, and then we focus more on geographic links on the subdomain level. Doesn't mean you can't also build topical links to subdomain. You certainly can. But what I'm saying is if it's already inheriting topical relevance from the appropriate categories through the root domain, and the subdomain has inherited that, then you can focus more on geographic links, if that's clear. And so that's kind of what we do as a way to reduce the costs of building links to all of these individual locations, right? But yeah, it should index. Double check it. Do you have any meta robots directive that is telling it to no index? Have you built any links to the root domain yet? The homepage or whatever, any page on the root domain, I mean. If you haven't, then build some links to it, right? I know of a good link provider that can provide you with really topically relevant links. So
Where might
perhaps,
that be? Where might
yeah,
that link builder be found,
yeah.
Bradley?
Reach out to me privately and I'll mention him. No, go to Semantic Links and check it out. Go to Vetted. I don't care. I sell niche edits. They're very inexpensive. Topical niche edits is all you need for this, right? $20 a piece. Or if you buy, 5, they're 19 a piece, or 10, they're 18 a piece, right? So buy some niche edits. Point to the homepage and it'll index. Okay. Good question. Is it something? No. It doesn't matter. But you should be indexed. But also, have you submitted the root domain to Search Console? If not, why not? Right? You could submit it as a domain or as a URL prefix. I prefer to submit each site separately as a URL prefix. Right? So if you go grab the URL prefix version of it and submit it to Search Console, and then it will likely index. Okay. And I mean, it should be indexed, really, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Sam says, can you show an example of the different nurtures used for directory members? For example, do you have separate nurture sequence for people who need websites, SEO reviews, etc.? Yeah, I can show you. It's fine. All mastermind members have access to this. Well, I just updated the snapshot, directory CRM snapshot specifically with this. So give me a second and I'll show you. I did that in sales, yeah. So here's my 3 front-end offer sequences. So these are the 3 front-end services that we offer as part of the DHA program, which are the LLG websites, Google Business Basic SEO, and review management, which includes list reactivation or database reactivation and that kind of stuff. So let me just show you. Here is the offer sequence. Okay. So I do 5 emails per sequence. They go out every other day. And the contact is plugged in here. Let me pause the screen. I'll demonstrate this because we don't have a lot of questions today. So I think it would be better just to demonstrate this. Give me 1 minute. I'll get into TreeCare HQ and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll show you the workflows and all that too. I'll be damned. Huh. That's, I gotta. All right. Stop, motherfucker. My phone's ringing. It's an old friend from high school that's just calling me now. That's crazy. I haven't talked to this guy in 20 years. No shit. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, guys, is go into automations. Well, first, let me go into marketing and snippets. I'll show you here. I think it'll be easier to show you. So we'll go to folders. We've got the 3 front-end offers: LOG website offer, GB SEO offer, and reviews offer. Okay, so what happens is, and you'll see these are the emails. This is in text format, and here it is in high level in. Oh, guys, sorry, you guys aren't seeing my screen. I apologize. Let me back up. We're going to go to snippets. So marketing snippets, and this is where I added folders. So we have one for LOG website offer, GB SEO offer, and a reviews offer. Okay, you'll see there's 5 emails in each one of those series or sequences. All right, so we're going to go in the LOG website offer. We'll start here, okay? So we got 5 emails, and what I do is I build them as email templates. So if I come in here and I click edit snippet, you'll see we have the email here, which has been tokenized to a degree to give it some uniqueness and all that kind of stuff. And there's trigger links in here. So I've got trigger links in here, like an unsubscribe link. I have a separate trigger link for each sequence so that when they click unsubscribe, it only unsubscribes them from that particular sequence. It doesn't set them to do not contact or do not call or whatever. Do not disturb, D&D, whatever that shit is. It doesn't do all that. There's a universal kind of you can have an unsubscribe link that does that. It automatically D&Ds that contact so that we don't send them anything else. But these are contacts. I'm getting to a point here, but that is they're only plugged into this sequence after they've had a call with me, or they just didn't show up for the call. And then that's what we do is plug them into one of these sequence. But just so you know, we have the 5 emails per sequence, and they go out. I'll show you the automation next. So we're going to go into DHA services and sales, and we'll look at, again, we can go to like the LLG website offer right here. So if we go into that workflow, because that's what we were just looking at, you'll see that we have, all I do is the trigger is we just have a tag. So LLG site offer, there's one for GB SEO offer and one for reviews offer. Okay. And so that's the trigger. So I'll show you in just a moment. We're going to go into the pipeline, and I will show you that whenever I get off of a listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation, and I'll talk through that sequence in just a minute, like how we get to there and then what happens afterwards. But once I get off the call with the listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation, that is the first sale. That's the first kind of booked appointment that I have with the contact. And then through the conversation, the listing delivery conversation that turns into the sales conversation, is when I introduce the problems that we identified through the process of optimizing their listing. That's when we identify where they have problems or gaps, deficiencies in their online presence, areas for improvement. And so all of that is done by my VA or VAs, because I got 2 of them that work these now. And they then add notes into the contact record in high level, so that when I'm on the sales call, the listing delivery call with the contact, then I can review the notes and I know right out of the gate what the problems were that were identified. And that's when I introduce those problems and then agitate them, right? Problem, agitate, solution framework, copywriting 101. So we show them, introduce the problem, then we agitate it a bit, make sure that they're aware of what it's costing them by not fixing it, improving it, etc. And then we introduce low-cost front-end solutions, whichever one is the most appropriate. And in some cases, it's more than one of those 3 front-end services. Sometimes it's all 3, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 1. Out of all 3, the one that is the most important, in my opinion, is the reviews management, because you can show a prospect very quick Google Business Profile performance improvements if you can get them a flood of reviews very quickly. And so when I'm having that conversation with the contact about whatever we identified as their problems, if I can tell from the conversation that they're not quite ready to subscribe to more than one service, then I will always pitch the review service as well, not always, it depends, because if they have it depends, but the vast majority of the times I'm going to pitch the reviews management service as the front end, the most important front end service. Because through that process, as long as they have a customer list, if they don't have a customer list, then I won't pitch that as the first service. Instead, because if they have a customer list, then we can plug their customer list into the reviews system, which is a function of high level, and then it will go out and create or generate reviews very quickly, which can significantly expand Maps coverage. So improve Google Business Profile performance in map search, as well as also improve Maps coverage. Even if they have a website, no website, or a website that's optimized poorly, and even if the GBP isn't optimized properly, we can typically show results, performance gains, by getting a flood of reviews very quickly, okay? Which we can do if they have a past customer list. If they don't have a past customer list, then it doesn't make sense to sell them reviews, because they're not generating leads, right? Which means we're not going to be able to, we can't get a flood of reviews quickly. And if they don't have much of a digital presence, then they're likely not getting many leads to begin with, which means even if we set the review system up, they're not going to be getting reviews very often, because they don't have very many clients, because they're not generating enough leads. So then LLG sites or Google Business SEO or both would become the bigger priority, so that we can start to generate leads for them, and at which point then the reviews come in, if that makes sense. So I'm just pointing this out so that you guys understand. This was a great question, because I know people are curious about my process, and so that's why I'm explaining this. But so the trigger for the LLG website offer, and again, each workflow is the same. It's 1 day later is when the first email goes out. That's because, remember, I tag the contact as soon as we get off that first call, that first booked appointment. Listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation, is when I introduce the problems, agitate, and present them with low-cost front-end solutions that will help to start to resolve those issues. And I say that to them right out of the gate, like, this will help to start to resolve it. I'm not telling them with these three front end these front end services that we're going to fix your online presence and you're going to get all the leads. That's not what I'm saying, because that would be untrue. It's the starting point to start to improve their presence, but it's low cost. There's a reason for that, guys. For 2 years with the directory hybrid model, uh, I was pitching Google Business retainer based services, but full on. My starting price was 850 a month. That was my pitch. So I would get the contractors onto a call and I would pitch them. They don't know me from Adam. It doesn't matter how many results I could show them from previous clients, etc. They don't know me. And I'm pitching them on 850 a month and telling them that I will get them in the top three of the map search results for their primary search query within 4 months. That was my guarantee. I'll do it within 4 months, or I will continue working on it for free until it does. And so that's a commitment of 850 a month for 4 months, right? Now I don't make them sign contracts, and I'm always clear about that right up front. But that's a lot to, like, that's a big bite, right? You have to have a lot of faith and trust to be able to commit to that when you don't know the person. And so that's why I have these front end service offerings now, because we identify prospects or contacts, companies, et cetera, that have problems, that don't have good digital presences. We reach out to them, we show them, we give them something of value first, which is a directory listing. We go through multiple points of contact with them to develop rapport, right? To develop some level of trust and good communication before we ever ask them to get on a call with us. Then we get on the call to deliver something of value for free to them, at which point we then again we continue to build rapport through the conversation. And I tell them, I'm very clear and honest right at the beginning of the call. Hey, we're going to accomplish two things on this call. Number one, we're going to review your directory listing and make sure you're satisfied with it, make any changes that you want. There's no cost to this. Number two, I'm going to show you some problems that we identified through the process of optimizing your directory listing that are preventing you from getting jobs within the areas that you claim you want to get jobs from. And I'm going to introduce some low cost solutions that will help to start to resolve those issues. Does it make sense for us to continue this conversation? And I nod my head and I ask that question. And not one time have I had a tree contractor yet say, no, I'm not interested, and hang up. They've all said, yeah, sure, let's go. And we go. And I answer their questions about the directory listing. I make any changes right there on the spot with them on the Zoom call. And then I say, okay, well, this is a perfect opportunity now for me to transition to the second part of this conversation. And then I go right into the pitch. And then I identify the most pressing issues that we found. And then I show them examples of what that is costing them. Then I show them examples of current clients that I'm working with, tree contractors in other locations, and how we resolved those issues for them. And then I tell them the price of the front end services. And I say, these are the three different services we have in the front end, $99 a piece or $297 combined. And I recommend that you get these. And listen, I'm not trying to close you on this call. I tell them that. I send them the checkout link. If they want to, they'll close. But I'm not trying to push them into closing on that call. That's not the point. And I don't want to be pushy, right? I hate when salespeople do that to me and I'm on a call. I hate it. I hate it. It turns me off. And therefore, I don't want to do that to prospects. So I don't do any hard sales closing. And that's something else I mentioned to them at the beginning of the call. Tell them, like, right out, like, I'm going to introduce some problems that we identified. I'm going to show you some low cost solutions that we have that are going to help you to start to resolve this. Just so you know, I'm not going to hard sell you on any of this. If it makes sense for us to work together, great. If not, hey, the door is always open for you to come back whenever you're ready. And just so you know, I'm going to send you some emails after our call today that's going to help to give you some additional information about what we talk about today. Is that fair? And I'll nod my head. Is that fair? Yeah, of course. Yeah, this sounds good. Let's go. Right. And so, again, guys, sales 101. You ask questions, you leave the door open, you nod your head when you're talking to them, ask questions where they say yes, all over and over and over again. Again, all this comes through practice, guys. How do you get better at all this? Book more sales calls, right? You'll get better at all this through practice and repetition. And so the whole point is, as soon as I get off that call, most 90% of them aren't going to close on the call. But then I immediately go in and tag them with whatever tag it was, or tags that I found that we discussed on the call that were the most pressing. So a day later, they're going to get an email, right? So when you use email snippets, then all you do is select the snippet from your list of snippets and it automatically inserts it, right? So it makes it easier to build the workflows, in my opinion, if you create the emails and SMSs as snippets. And they're all tokenized and all that stuff. And then it's email 1, wait 2 days, email 2, wait 2 days, email 3, etc. And so the sequence then, again, I'm not going to share this, guys. You can, the mastermind, I'll give it to you, but I'm not going to share it on Hump Day Hangouts. But I did talk about in our mastermind specifically the prompts that I use to create these emails. Well, I asked Grok to create the prompts for me. I told Grok what I needed to do, and Grok created the prompts. And then you prompt chain. So I prompt chained those together, and I ended up with these sequences here. And this is Grok telling us the notes about each one of these emails that were created. And this is great, guys, because I fed Grok with, look, I'll just demonstrate this, guys. I don't know why I just didn't do this to begin with. It's a great topic, by the way. I love talking about this stuff, man, because I've learned over the years through a lot of trial and error how to pitch services to local business, at least to tree contractors for sure, right? So let me go over here and I'll show you an example real quick. I think it was that one. No. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I'm looking for it right here. That's it right there. I just went through this in the mastermind the other day. But here's how I started in Grok. I just said I need some prompt writing help. And then I told Grok says whatever, and then I says I prompt for a persuasive email sequence with 5 emails. I did this just 2 weeks ago, guys. No shit. That's why it's all fresh on my mind. I just built all that stuff out. But it's and it says prompt for a persuasive email sequence. And so it gave me the strategy overview. And by the way, I kept all that data. So the LLG offer sequence prompts is here. So here's the prompt for each email, just to be clear. And I had Grok create all this, guys. That's one thing I learned in just the last few weeks. I can't believe I didn't know that sooner. Honest to God, just like 3 weeks ago, I learned that you can go with an idea to a large language model and tell it, I have an idea, I need help writing the prompts. And then you just tell it the idea and they will help write the prompts. I had no idea you could do that till like 3 weeks ago. I don't know how I didn't know that, because I was dragging my feet on AI stuff. And anyway, long story short, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, that's gold. Like, why didn't I think of that? So anyway, that's what I did. I came here and I just said, I need help with this. So it gave me some information about that. And I said, hey, these are great. So here's some context, right? This email sequence will be sent to a contact, a local tree service company owner that attended a discovery call where I addressed some issues that I found that are preventing them from getting as many job leads from Google search as they should be, or could be, excuse me. My company, TreeCare HQ, provides 3 low-cost front-end services that can start to improve the client's presence in local search. And then I list the 3 service offerings. I need a persuasive email sequence for each of these 3 service offers. Let's start with a sequence for TreeCare HQ lead generation websites. That's LLG sites. It says, got it. Okay. And then it says, here's the hook. And again, it's a problem agitate solution framework. You guys see that? So it's 5 email sequence. Each one of them is a PAS framework. Okay. And then I said, these are great. Thanks. Please proceed with the prompts for the next service, Google Business SEO. Right. So we did that for the 3 sequences. So now I got the prompts. All right. And then after the 3 sequence prompts, then I go back and I say, okay, now I will ask you to draft these emails, but I wanted to add author context because I wanted these emails to be drafted in my voice, right? Because I've talked to tree guys for 11 years now, and tree guys are very responsive to direct and to the point tone and language and being rough and aggressive. Like, I'm serious. They love that. They respond well to that. And so do most contractors for that matter. But say below are some resources that you can use to develop the author voice for writing these emails with Bradley Benner's tone. That's me. I'm a local marketing and SEO professional that has specialized in working with tree care contractors since 2014. I've also been teaching local marketing since 2014 through another one of my companies, Semantic Mastery. Tree Care HQ is my local marketing and growth consulting company for tree service companies. So I put a professional biography document in there, and then a video of that was a video of a podcast interview that I did with somebody, and then I did a podcast MP3 link or whatever, podcast link that was for another podcast interview I had with somebody else, and then a video I did with something else. It was a video extracted from Hump Day Hangouts, one of our clips that we take from Hump Day Hangouts, where I was talking about topic and category optimization, making the sites more efficient by reducing crawl resistance and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, long story short, then I put a message here about author voice. You are Bradley Benner, a digital marketing professional that specializes, blah, blah, blah. Basically just telling them to, like, okay, now you're going to assume my role after scanning all that document. So now audio, video, and getting some background history about who I am and what I do, etc., professional biography, etc. Now you're assuming me, you're becoming me as the writer, the author, and then I want you to draft the following using the email prompt and context and the voice details provided above. So then I just pasted the prompt in that I had generated in the previous step. You understand? So I had them generate all the prompts first. Then I went for each of the email or the services that I needed the sequences for. Then I went in and said, okay, here's author context and author voice and some resources to train the model on me and how I want to communicate the offer. And they came back with the results, which was, again, which I thought were phenomenal. I said this in the mastermind when I shared this information. I couldn't have done this better. Like when I write, just to be clear, when I write way more formally than I speak. Like in other words, and I can't help it. I cannot write this way on my own. Like I have a difficult time not writing formally. I don't know why, but whenever I write, it's much more formal. But when I talk, I'm not very formal when I talk, especially when I'm talking to tree contractors, right? I try to speak their language, so to speak. And it's very difficult for me to translate that into written text, the way that I talk with tree guys. But man, damn if Grok didn't do it. Like it was amazing. And I was so happy. I barely made any edits to these emails whatsoever as I was adding them to high level because it was done so well. Let me just give you a very quick example. I'll just read this one, which is, hey owner, do you know your tree service could be missing out on dozens of Google leads every month? On our discovery call, we dug into why your site's not showing up or barely scraping by for local searches. It's a problem I've seen since I've started helping tree guys like you back in 2014. Right now, homeowners needing tree removal or trimming in, and there's a token for their city, are dialing your competitors instead of you. That's cash slipping through your fingers. I've got a dead simple fix to get you back on Google's radar and pulling in those leads. I'll spill the details tomorrow. Something low cost that works fast. Hang tight. Right? And again, just some of these are just incredible. The way that they Grok took my voice from video and audio and translated it into text in a very punchy, direct and to the point way, which is, again, tree guys respond well to that. And I don't think a single email is more than 150 words. So they're very short, they're very to the point. They talk about stuff like, mention how we provided helped other contractors resolve some of the issues that they were experiencing, etc. So that's how I do it. Again, the email sequences back over here, just very quickly, and then I'll walk through the process briefly too. We have a workflow where we have an offer. So that's the offer sequence. So the LLG website offer is the offer sequence. Then we have the sale notification. So that's an automation for so just so you know, let me go back into I'll have to go back into one of the snippets here in just a second and show you, but I have a checkout pages set up for each of my service offerings. And so those are the links that are inserted in each sequence. So when they go through, they click through, if they end up checking out, then I get the sale notifications, which notify me and my team that a new sale has been generated. And it also sends confirmation to the contact, the new client who just subscribed or whatever, that their order has been received, etc. And then we have the unsubscribe workflow, which is specific. We have a separate, like I mentioned earlier, separate trigger link that is the unsubscribe link for each individual sequence. So just very quickly, if we go back to our marketing trigger links, you'll see what I'm talking about, like the LLG site offer unsub, the GB SEO offer unsub, the reviews offer unsub. You also have a no-show follow-up sequence for those that book their listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation, but then they no-show for the appointment, which happens a lot. That happens a lot. Okay. We get a lot of no-shows. And so I have a no-show follow-up sequence as well. Very similar, where it's a 5 email sequence and it has its own, it basically is just prompting them to go reschedule for another call. People only get 2 chances with me. If they no-show the second time, that's it. They're marked as DND. I'll never contact them again. They've lost their opportunity. If that makes sense. I hate no-shows. I will give everybody a benefit of the doubt for one. If it happens twice, that's it. You don't get a third chance, in my opinion. I hate no-shows. That is a pet peeve of mine because that means you don't respect somebody's time, right? At all. Because I schedule time that blocks time off on my calendar, nobody else can schedule. And then somebody no-shows, and tree guys do that a lot, to be clear. Okay. And it's probably a lot of times because they think they're being pitched to. Now, since I've started the process of where we are getting them on the listing delivery call, our show up rates are a lot higher. But it's still a high percentage of no-shows. And that also is understandable to me because I also understand a lot of the times these guys book these tree calls during the middle of the workday and they get stuck on a job and everything else. That's why again I understand and I accept it when they'll miss one. But typically, like I said, I'll prompt them to reschedule, and then I'll make sure that they're aware that if they miss a second one, they're not going to get a third chance. Okay. But then very quickly, like I said, let me go back over here and I'll show you one more thing, which is the opportunities. And so we're going to go into the, so in here, the way that I have this set up right now is I've got when the lead comes in. So when the contact replies to my directory outreach process, my so-called email, when they reply to that sequence to confirm their contact information is correct or to correct inaccurate information, which is what the sequence is about. It's, hey, we're reaching out to you to confirm your company's contact information for your free directory listing on the treecarehq.com tree service directory. All we need to know is if this information is accurate, this is who you are, this is what you do, this is where you do it, it's your phone number, website, etc. And they either going to reply back and say, and by the way, we purposefully omit the website URL in that sequence. There's a label for it. It says name, address, location or service area, phone number, and a website. And the website's left blank. That is intentional. We want them to reply. And we get a lot of replies saying, oh, that information is correct, but my website's missing. Here's my website URL. Boom. Now we know we got direct communication with most of the time the business owner, but at least somebody at the company. And in tree service industry, it's almost always the owner or the owner's wife most of the time. Okay. But anyways, once they reply to the message, then it automatically adds, it's through a webhook, but it creates the contact and it adds the contact opportunity card in here, contact replied. Then my lead processors, my VAs, they come in when they go to pick it up, they'll move it into this column, and that's when they're optimizing the listing. During that process is when they identify the issues that I'm going to address on that first call, the listing delivery call. So they make mentions of that as notes in the notes section of the contact record. And then they're going to, when they're done, they're going to add the tag that adds this contact into the automation that starts sending them emails, SMSs, and we have an AI voice agent now that also does outbound calls to try to get them to book the listing delivery call. So this is, hey, your listing is ready for review. We'd like to schedule an appointment to review it to make sure it's accurate. You're happy with it before it goes live. It's already been published, but that's what we say in the message. And then they say, pick a time on, you can select a time or schedule a call on my calendar here. We'll see you on the call. Then one of two things happens at that point. They're either going to reply back and ask a question such as, why do I need to book a call? Can't you just send it to me? And then we follow up with, well, we identified, or during the process of optimizing your listing, we identified some issues that are preventing you from getting as many jobs in the areas that you claimed you wanted to get jobs from. We would like to address those issues with you on the call. When's a good time? Here's the booking link. And then they're either going to book the call or they're going to follow up with another question, which is, well, what problems did you identify? And so then we have another automation when they reply back that says, well, this is where you said you want to get jobs from. And then there's an SMS that goes out to them that has a short link to an image that is a map radius image of where they told us their service area is. And then immediately, or within about 15 seconds, there's another SMS that goes out that sends a text message with the link to the local search grid report that shows that entire service area that they claim was their service area. And almost always it's one little tiny speck of green in the middle of a sea of red. And it says, but this is where you're actually getting jobs from, only the areas in green. We would like to address this with you on the call and show you how you can start to resolve that. Please pick a time on my calendar here. So in any case, we end up getting the book call with no direct communication from me unless the lead has a question that the AI and the automations that trip up the automations and or the AI, in which case then I manually have to jump into the conversation, which my VAs will identify that and put that into the contact replied has questions, because that means the AI or the automations could not answer those questions, and it's something that I have to do manually. But the vast majority of the contacts will get to the booked call appointment before that ever happens. So again, the VAs, when they finish optimizing the listing is when they will all they do is add a tag, listing ready, like listing is ready, but it's listing ready. And that adds them to the sequence and the automations that then books the call, the listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation. During the sales conversation, I bring up the contact record, review the notes. I have let me just demonstrate this. If we click into Let's see if we have Cassidy is in here. Maybe not. That's all right. I'll just pick one of these. I'm just going to pick into this one. If we click into here, guys, I have the short links right here in the contact record. Let me show you right here. So we have their directory listing right here. Then we have their service territory radius map short link. So this is the image that now in this case, this contact obviously didn't reply with the map radius. Most of them do though, but then we create the map radius image. Let me show you what that looks like really quickly. It's warm in here. So this is let's see if we can find this guy. Just had a client with 2 locations. Here's one right here. I just had a call with this lady yesterday. Her name is the wife. Her name is Cassidy. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is the map radius image. You guys see that? Am I zoomed in? I am. Set that. That's the map radius image. So there's a short link that goes right here for that image, right? And then there's another short link that goes here for the GeoGrid, the local search grid report. Let me give you a better example, guys. I know I'm all over the place here, but I think this is important for you guys to understand why this is so effective. And if you guys, again, if I do that, it's supposed to be in contacts. That's fine. We can go here. I'm hoping that this will encourage some of you guys to join the mastermind and come get the SOPs so that you can build this into your agencies. I'm telling you guys, this works. It works so well. It's unbelievable. Okay. But here we go. All right. So we're going to scroll down here and take a look. So this one, I just had a call with her yesterday about this location, and that's when she told me she had another location. So I said, that's fine. We'll build you a listing for that one too. So we built her a second listing for the other location. So this one's in Sheridan, California. We're targeting California right now, by the way. So here's the image, right? And so the map radius image right here, you see it's a short link. It's on a custom domain TCHQ, which is treecarehq.link. I'd set that up specifically as a link shortener. So while I'm on the call with them, well, first of all, while I'm on the call with them, we have the listing pulled up and I send them the listing URL. So I say, well, that's the area that you told us you want to get jobs in. But then this is the area that you actually are getting jobs in. Only these areas in green. And I send her a text message. And we're usually on a Zoom call, so I will pull this up on my screen, but I'll send it to her via text as well. Or them, whoever it is that I'm talking to. And I'll say, do you see this? You're not ranking at all in maps across your service area, which means you're not getting any work from Google Maps, and your competitors are. And depending on the call, sometimes I will have this ready. Let me see if I can pull it up. Where is the search grid report? Might be here. Stand by. I'm missing a URL here. I'm looking for it. Where the hell is it? God damn it. Why am I missing the local search grid report? URL, listing URL. Right, it's supposed to be right there. That's why. Stand by, guys. I'm going to pause the screen and grab the link. I'll show, because I want to show you guys the, it wasn't in there. That's why I wasn't seeing it. Here we go. I'm actually going to put that in the listing right now. All right, grab the screen again. So I'm going to go back over to high level. I'm going to actually paste that in right there. That should have been there. So this is the report that I generated. Well, originally I didn't generate the report, but then we had to call and I knew that we were going to do another another listing for her for the other location. So I went ahead and did it. So I ran this and so again, I'll usually do this after the call because I don't know if they're going to show up to the call or not. So I don't want to go generate a Bright Local Search Grid report. No, that's why I just have my VAs create this static image. Okay, I have them create that. They use LeadSnap. My team uses LeadSnap to create this image, but I use Bright Local for reporting. And so usually after the call, because like I said, I don't try to close them on the call. So usually after the call, what I will do is then, because if they showed up to the call and they gave me 15 to 30 minutes of their time so we could have a discussion, then I know that I'm making headway, making progress, right? I'm developing rapport, goodwill, etc. And so then I will go in after the call and generate a Bright Local report for them with organic rank tracking, local search grid tracking, and citation tracking, and in some cases, reputation monitoring. Okay. And then that way, when I do the follow up with them, I can show them specifically where they're not ranking and how poorly they're ranking. They're crushing it for any Sheridan modifier, but any of the other keywords you can see they're not performing well at all. Does that make sense? And so that's why, again, all of this is done on the conversation or following the conversation. And so getting back to here so that I can wrap this up and we can move on. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of questions today. We're going to go back to directory. Yeah, that's it. And just because that's why screwed me up. I didn't see everything was there. So once I get off, again, the VA's tag the contact with listing ready. Then I will go in when they have the scheduled call. I will go in and find their contact record. I'm just going to click into that contact record by just clicking onto their name, and it opens up that record. Then I have all of the assets available right there. And by the way, I can do all of that from right inside High Level, right? I just send them the short code and all that with the links to the images and all that kind of stuff, the Bright Local Report, if it's available. All of that stuff I can do right in High Level as I'm talking to them. If that makes sense. And then as soon as we get off the call, if I want to send them the checkout link, which I'll show you in just a moment, I'll send them the checkout link on the call. Sometimes it's not appropriate and I don't even send it to them on the call. But then I will plug them into whichever sequence is that I determined was most relevant, or multiple sequences, but I'll only do one sequence at a time. So I'll figure out what is the most pressing, and that's the sequence that I will plug them into first. And then immediately following the end of that sequence, if they don't check out, we usually do a 5-day wait period or something, and then we'll add them to the next sequence. And we just plug them into the appropriate opportunity stage here based upon which sequence it is that we've plugged them into, right? And so that's essentially how we work this system, guys. The last thing I want to show you very briefly is the services. So we have the TreeCare HQ websites, which is the LLG websites. So all I do is just a checkout page. You'll see it's just on a subdomain. It's a very simple checkout page. It makes it super easy. All I do is send them this URL while I'm on the call, or again, there's a trigger link created from this link that then goes out into the email sequences so that I can track when they've clicked it and all that kind of stuff. And so again, this just goes in and shows them exactly what's included, and it has the checkout form. And then typically what I'll do is you'll see I have a setup fee. Every one of my services has a setup fee, guys. However, as a deal sweetener, as a way to entice the client, the prospect, the contact into subscribing to my services, is I will see there's a $2.99 setup fee for this one. This is Google Business Basic SEO. But what I will do is I will start on the sequence, and then what I will do is, depending on, as I can monitor and see if they're opening the links or opening the emails, if they're clicking the link, et cetera, because of the trigger link. If I see that there's some engagement, but they haven't pulled the trigger, then I can send them a separate message saying, hey, listen, I want to make you a special offer where I will waive the setup fee if you subscribe or join or sign up or whatever by this Friday, for example. Some of my email sequences actually have that already built in. Some of them are just manual. If I see that they're engaging with the sequence, then I can send them a snippet email that just says, hey, as a kind of a way to push you over the fence. And I'll say it like that to them, I will waive the setup fee if you subscribe or join or whatever by the end of this week, by Friday or whatever, if that's clear. So it's a very simple way, guys. It took me months and months and months to develop this out and get it to work to the point where now it's much more scalable, because before I was doing video emails and all this other kind of stuff, which was a lot more time intensive. It worked, but it was super, super labor intensive. Now all of this stuff is automated until we get to the listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation. Right. And then again, much of what happens afterwards is also automated. We have other sequences that also warm and nurture sequences, like we do David Sprague's rep videos. I have like over 1,300 rep video credits in my account. So I just give those damn things away all the time. So that's something else we use after a listing delivery call. We'll plug them into whatever nurture sequence. And then there's something else that I can do is offer to, go back through and offer to add a reputation video, or what I call it a review commercial. That's what I call it when I'm talking to them. But I say it's a review commercial that we create out of one of your 5-star reviews, and I added that to your listing just because, or I'll tell them, hey, I created this video for you. I'd like to jump on a quick call to make sure that you like it before we add it to your listing, if that makes sense. And then I might even send them the YouTube video URL so that they can see it, but I won't add it to their listing until they get back on a call with me. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's so many opportunities with this process to then get them onto your radar, or put you onto their radar, so to speak, if that makes sense. And then all the different things that we can do to add more value to their listing, which is another excuse to get them to jump on a call with us, right? And through that process, you develop rapport and goodwill. Like, in other words, again, you start to develop a relationship with a prospect, and that's how you earn their trust, right? Or you could just pitch them and turn them off, and then they'll never want to talk to you again. And so I've learned over the years, not, again, I told you guys earlier, I mentioned I would start with $850 a month as my starting point with, and say I get you results within 4 months, or we'll continue to work for free until it does. I had a lot, I mean, closing rate was about 30%, right? So every 10 sales calls I would book, I'd get roughly 30% closed. That's tough, right? Now my percentage, it's harder for me to track because of the longer sales cycle now, because I'm not trying to close them initially. So I don't have my kind of closing percentages determined yet, but I know that sometimes I'll close a contact now 4 months after our first call, if that makes sense, because it's been in progress, and they've just been waiting until time and circumstances were right for them to then, pull the trigger, so to speak. So it's a very effective way, guys. And again, the whole point here is, because we do so much volume now, because everything's automated, we can increase our prospecting volume and all of that, that we get all these people in the pipeline that are in various stages, sure, but since I don't care about closing them immediately, I'm okay with that, because what happens is you get enough active members in your pipeline that things are just going to start to pop randomly, right? And sooner than later, you're going to start to have consistent new sales from sometimes contacts that you started warming up 3 or 4 months ago, sometimes 6 months ago. And so that's the point. If you keep this process always running, you're always bringing new leads into your pipeline, into your nurture sequences, and the whole 9 yards. And within a matter of a few short months, you're going to start having just closed sales that are coming in from leads that you started warming up 3-4 months previously. And that's how you start to build a massive agency, guys, is that way, because it's all automated, right? You dial your sales process in so well that it's almost effortless. Really, again, I have no problem talking to tree guys or tree people now on the calls, because again, it's such a natural conversation now because I so many times. And it's non-confrontational. I'm not trying to hard pitch them on anything. Does that make sense? It's always like, hey, when you're ready, we're here. We're not going anywhere. Tree Care HQ's been around since 2020. We're not going anywhere. When you're ready, we're here. Okay. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I know that was a very long-winded answer, but I thought it was a great opportunity to demonstrate our process and why it's so damn effective. So again, I'll shamelessly plug some mastermind right now for it, but all of that is available in the mastermind currently for anybody. All the SOPs, the snapshots for high level, everything is available as a mastermind member right now. If you want the full DHA program, you got to wait till the next time it opens, which is where you get additional coaching from me, daily office hours, and all that kind of stuff. But I try to stress this enough to everybody. If you come join the mastermind, we have a monthly option and a quarterly option. You can get access to all of this right out of the gate. So I don't understand why so many people we haven't gotten more people to join specifically about this, because I hear all the time from new members that join the mastermind, as we have an onboarding call. One of the biggest issues they have is landing clients, selling their services. Okay, well, what do you do? How are you booking sales? How are you generating leads? How are you booking sales calls? How many calls do you book per week? Most of the time, not even one per week. They might say, oh, I get maybe 1 or 2 leads per month. Of course, it's hard. I understand why you're a struggling agency if you only have 1 or 2 book calls per month. It's very difficult to generate revenue when you're not pitching and pitching. The good news is doing something like this gives you the opportunity to pitch so much that it becomes effortless. You dial it in to the point where it becomes so much easier to make the sale, because you know what they're going to ask. You know what their objections are. So again, how do you get better at anything? Do more of it. So book more sales calls. This is an outstanding system to do that, guys. Mostly automated now. Okay. It's taken years, actually. I said months earlier, but it's actually taken me multiple years to get it to the point that it is now. And I've had some help from Cecilia, one of my members, mastermind members, as well as for about a year and a half, help from a former partner, now Harry. Harry helped me to develop a lot of this stuff too. So It didn't do alone, but you don't have to either. You can get help from us at Semantic Mastery. All right. Anyways, that was great. I appreciate that question. So we're going to move on. Next one is from Huzaifa. For the LOG subdomain sites hit with the March core update, should we duplicate the sites to a new subdomain and delete the old sites? No, I would. Well, it depends. Was the root domain hit? If all subdomains, basically disappeared, not were de-indexed, but just like traffic dropped, they're not ranking at all anymore, then it's likely the domain was hit, which means just replace the domain. Okay. It's super easy if you're using high level because it's just a changing of DNS records from this. You just add the CNAME to a different domain and remove the CNAME from the old domain. Boom. Now all your sites are up on a new domain. Does that make sense? So it's super easy if you're using high level sites because it's just a CNAME record, but you would replace the full domain. If you have individual subdomain sites that were hit, but the root domain wasn't, and other sibling subdomains were not hit, and they're still ranking, showing up in search results and all that kind of stuff, then yes, you can just change the subdomain, and then it should be fine. But if the root domain was hit, you're going to have to replace the root domain. Okay. Should we build new sites while a core update is rolling out, or wait until it? I'd say build it, right? Because you might learn something through that process. I don't wait until an algorithm update is done. But if I'm starting a new project, I just start it. Look, Google's going to do what Google's going to do. When it doesn't matter when you start the project, they're going to do what they're going to do. So there's no, in my opinion, there's no sense in waiting. Maybe some other people have a different opinion. I don't. I'll just build the damn site because through that process, I might learn something about the update. Maybe, maybe not, but it's always possible. Moving on. Wayne says, back in the day, it used to be you could set the share to be so that Google Drive folder was public on the web. Yes, that was a long time ago. Anyone on the internet can find a view. This means that anyone on the internet, even without a Google account, could find and access the files within that folder. That is correct. Can we steal that without buying software to do this? I'm cheap. Yes, you can. One of the easiest ways you can do is if you just share a folder into a folder that's already public. So if you have any legacy Google accounts that you have public folders like that, all you got to do is share the folder into that folder and it will make it public, make it publicly available, indexable. Chris G, our support manager, I know you're familiar with him, Wayne. He also created a simple web app. I think it's done via Google Scripts or something that's available to Mastermind members, I believe, that you just take the folder URL or the Google Drive file URL and plug it in and hit go. Or he called it the Publificator. Publificator. I remember that because that was a funny ass name. Publificator. I don't know if that. That's what he called it. I don't think that it's publicly available, but it is available in our, or was available in our Mastermind. But it was a simple web app that he created, I think, through Google Apps, and you just took the page or the file URL or the folder URL. It was just a text field. You plug it in and you hit this button that said publificate. You hit it, and then it would just say, "Okay, now your items are public, indexable." Okay, but yes,
Yeah,
they
let me
do
try to
have
pull
those.
up that link. I think that might still be a thing.
Yeah, but I think it costs him money because it's on his Google Apps account or whatever. So
Right. Okay.
it's you don't want to share that publicly, but I think it was made available to Mastermind members. So Wayne, if you're not in the Mastermind yet, I know you were. I don't. Is he still in the Mastermind? He should be. I would think so. If he got rid of his legacy account, that would have been a mistake. Because Wayne joined us very, very beginning, where his monthly was offensive. His monthly subscription payment was offensive. Can you explain how to get indexed and listed on AI platforms? Feed content, right? Publish content into certain properties. I could probably answer that question better for you in a couple of weeks. I just got access to RankBridge last week, Peter Drew's tool, and I just started yesterday working through that process. It's a bit intensive learning how to work all that stuff and how to feed data into the large language models. That's precisely what his software does. It's called RankBridge. The offer is currently closed right now, but he will be reopening it in a couple of months, so you might want to get on his list. It's rank rbagent.biz. rbagent.biz. We're going to do a promotion to our list for Peter Drew for sure. I got access to the software. I just started going through it yesterday. I had an hour and a half scheduled to start setup. I ended up spending 2 hours on it yesterday. It's going to be a while. I'm developing a full SOP on how to set these campaigns up and build all the necessary assets and all that, because this is not something that I want to do, but I am doing it now so that I can develop the SOPs, because I'm going to train at least 2 team members to then be able to perform these services for my agency clients, my own agency, as well as my agency clients as white label service provider. But then what we're going to, once I have those SOPs developed, that will be the bonus that we give out to anybody that purchases RankBridge through our affiliate link when we do the promotion. The SOP will be freaking invaluable. I promise you that, because this is a very intensive process. It's a lot of work. And in the Discord group that he has set up for this, there's all kinds of questions about, can somebody create a checklist and this and that? And I'm going to have full on SOPs so that I can train my own team members. Then those will become bonuses that we give out for those. But just go watch some of the videos that Peter talks about on this page here, and go to Peter's YouTube channel. And he's done a lot of posts in his Facebook profile about this stuff. And you can learn a lot just from Peter. Spent like the last 2 years really just engrossed it, like really balls deep in this stuff, so to speak. So. All right, 2 more and I'm gonna wrap up, guys, because I know we're a little bit over. Nitin is one of our new
No
mastermind
worries. I
members.
gotta hop off, Bradley, but
All right, man. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Or I'll see you later this week. Nitin says, when upload the photos, the QR code and logo watermarked at the top of the GMB on top as part of the GMB process, what would you recommend if taking over a client's GMB profile that's relatively mature? Oh, I'd just leave the existing photos. I wouldn't go change them. Yeah, just start with new ones. That's all. Yeah, I'm not going back through and downloading somebody's photos and then deleting the olds. I'm not doing all that. We just start with new photos from that point forward. Okay. Do you use the QR code logo images on the main website? Yes, I do. You can see that on all my Felling Pro sites, right? So just pick one, go into it, and you'll see. We just have the logo overlay for the universal images that are common to all sites. But on the location specific, you'll see we have a location specific logo and a QR code. So yes. Last question. Zypha says, for LOGs, where do you recommend building the first link to the root domain? Yeah, because remember that again, if you have the root domain, that's a way that you can push link equity to all of the subdomain sites that are listed on this root domain. That is the most cost-effective way to push topical relevance into these. Obviously, geographic relevance is going to be unique and specific to each location, so you'd want to build links with geographic relevance directly to the subdomain sites. But the most cost-effective way to start to push link equity and relevance into all the locations is by building a link to the root domain if you have links to the subdomain sites from this page. Okay. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here. Oh, sorry, you know what? I will look at comments briefly. What's up? Joseph here live. Eric says, what's up? The most affordable WordPress hosting for small PBN sites. Well, Eric's a good question. But I'm not going to answer a question with what's the most affordable. I'm going to answer the question with what I think is the best hosting, because affordable hosting can make it very difficult to perform well in search. You can also have the site down all the time. You can get hacked easier. It's not worth it. I would recommend that you spend a little bit more money and get a better host, one that has really good security, good speed, good support. And my preferred out of all of them, my favorite host for hosting WordPress sites is WPX Hosting. Okay, just so you know, that is WPX is owned by Terry Kyle. Terry Kyle is a bit of a legend in the SEO industry. For any of you that have been doing SEO for more than 15 years or more than 10 or 15 years, you would know who Terry Kyle is. And he owns this, and they have phenomenal WordPress hosting. It's super fast, and it's probably the best support I've ever had from any hosting company. When you ping support, you get an answer, you get a live person within 30 seconds, and they are very attentive. And so they're not the cheapest, but they are very, very good, and I highly recommend them. So it's wpx.net, or just go search WPX Hosting. This is all I use for testing purposes. I'll use Cloudways hosting, but that's more kind of where you self-manage your own deployment of VPS servers and all that stuff. It's a lot more technical than what I would recommend. But I do a lot of testing with used to. I don't do much WordPress stuff anymore, but when I was doing a lot of WordPress testing, I would use Cloudways hosting because it was a lot cheaper and I could do all different kinds of domains and stuff. But for money sites, I host them on WPX. 100%. unless they're on high level. But if they're WordPress sites, all my money sites and my clients' money sites are hosted on WPX. Okay. Good question. One more. If you do a domain search, use IFA, and the home page doesn't show up in the #1 position, then yes, there's an algorithmic penalty applied. That is a very clear indication that that's the case. So swap the domain out, right? Felling.pro. See how that pops #1? You do a brand search. That's an easy indication. If you do a brand, or excuse me, I said brand search. If you do a domain search for a domain and the home page of the root domain doesn't show up in the #1 position, then meaning, like, for example, if the Facebook page was outranking the homepage, that's an indication that there's an algorithmic penalty applied against the domain. So if that's the case, then yes, replace the domain. Blair, what's up, Blair? Did you see I joined the Jackie Chow group with you and the one that Sean Markey's in? I just joined it yesterday, I think. I saw that you had mentioned semantic mastery. Somebody had asked, like, who's this dude, Bradley Benner? Is he any good? And you replied, like, who's amazing? Like, the training's awesome and blah, blah, blah. So thanks, Blair. I appreciate that, man. By the way, I gave you a shout out in that group, but I just joined yesterday. Sean Markey's amazing. I love his newsletter. If you guys haven't subscribed to Sean Markey's newsletter, look, he's got 2 of them. One's called Rank Theory, which comes out, used to be once a month, but uh, he just recently published, I think, the first newsletter from Rank Theory since November. So for whatever reason, he was on long hiatus, but he's got a daily email that he does now. That is, he's awesome, dude. Sean Markey, I love his writing, his copywriting style, because he's funny and entertaining as well as informative. But anyways, I just joined that group. It was pretty cool. So good to see you in there, man. Can the Go High Level QR code builder be used to make the QR codes? Yeah, I assume so. I've not used that QR code builder. Had I used it, I probably would have adjusted or changed the SOPs to use that instead of Sniply. But again, that was the QR code builder in high level was added long after I was using Sniply, and so I'd already developed the process and everything else. So I just leave it. But yeah, I would try it and see if it works for you. I can't imagine why it wouldn't. A QR code's simple. So if you can create it there, there's no sense in having a subscription to Sniply. Just use high level. Matt Mellinger, what's up? Matt Mellinger Photography. He said, "What's up, guys? How are you, man?" Crawford says, "How can I get access to LLG sites, Crawford? Come join the mastermind. We provide full SOPs, site templates. There's a site clone for WordPress if you're using WordPress, or snapshots in high level if you're using high level. All of that is available in the mastermind. We have a monthly option and a quarterly option. Come join. You get access to everything on day 1. Okay, we don't drip shit out. We don't restrict it. Just come join, get what you need." Okay. Hopefully you'll stick around so that you can get support and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. But I don't care whether you stick around or not. That's if you need it, we're available. If not, come join the mastermind, get what you need, and then leave. That's entirely up to you. Okay. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm about 8 minutes over. That's not too bad. I appreciate everybody sticking around for a few minutes. Appreciate you guys. We'll see all of you next week.